Hello. Hi, class. Our topic for today is about organization. Let's talk about system. System is a self-contained collection of interacting and interdependent components working together towards a common purpose. So when we say system, siya ay pinagsama-samang parts or ng mga tao that helps one another towards a common purpose or common goal. So inside the system, we have the external source, which is the input. Um, we have process, and then we also have output. Okay? So for example, inside the laboratory, we have a system. So sa input ng laboratory, it's going to be supplies, staff, equipment, budget, requests for tests, and many more. So, sa input, sinasagot niya yung tanong na, ano iyong mga kailangan para magawa iyong process? Okay? So, sa process naman, it's the laboratory test and procedures. So, si process, sinasagot niya yung tanong na paano, okay, ang gagawin para makapag-produce ng output. So, ang output natin is your result forms or the laboratory results. So, if ang example naman is inside the classroom, okay, ang input natin are your test papers, your faculties, okay, your lecture notes. The process is this one, lectures, okay, group activities, assignments, okay, drills, and the output would be your grades. Okay, so there are six sorry, characteristics of organizational systems. So first is holistic and synergistic with nearly defined boundaries. So when we say holistic, lahat ng parts ay interconnected. And when you say synergistic naman, right, um, there is it's like combination. Pinagko-combine nyo lahat ng um, talents, ng wisdom of one another, okay, para makabuo ng isang maayos, okay, at magandang system. So that's holistic and synergistic. So second, have purposeful activity or primary task or commonly shared goal. So ang keyword natin is the primary task. Okay. Ibig sabihin, ang organizational system should have a iisang goal. Okay. So lahat kayo inside that system ay iisa dapat yung goal ninyo. Number three, hierarchy of systems. The process whereby self-contained subsystems develop within a parent organization, such as laboratory within a hospital. So, meron tayong hierarchy. Ang example niyan is the laboratory within a hospital. So, there are also hierarchy of positions inside, diba, the laboratory. For example, we have the chief medtech, and then followed by the section heads, the medtechs, and the lab techs. Okay, so there is hierarchy inside the system. So number four, open system. Okay, it operates an open system. So ibig sabihin, tumatanggap at nagbibigay ng feedback sa environment. Okay? Number five, seek the state of stability and or equilibrium. So it's um, stable, okay? So when we say stable or with the equilibrium, it has balance, okay? Balance of everything, hindi labis at hindi kulang, okay? It's stable and in equilibrium. And lastly, self-regulating or ibig sabihin mayroong sariling paraan, okay, na pag-aayos inside the system. Okay? It's self-regulating. So, inside the laboratory, when you say self-regulating, di ba, inside the lab, meron tayong SOP na sinusunod. So, sa SOP, nakalagay yung procedures, ano yung mga dapat gawin if there is a problem that arises. Next is functions of organizational systems. Number one, um, input mechanism. The process through which needed resources um, are acquired and replaced. Number two, transformation. The internal process whereby resources received through the input channels are converted into the products and services produced by the organization. And third, the output mechanism, the process of delivering the goods and services produced to the external environment. Okay. So sa input mechanism, yun yung example is the staff, the equipment. So lahat yun ay pwede natin i-acquire at pwede rin palitan. So it can be acquired, it can be replaced. So, transformation naman, lahat ng input channels, okay, are converted into products and services. So that's transformation. Output mechanism, okay, it's the process of delivering goods and services produced to the external environment. So si output focuses sa kung ano yung napoproduce under transformation or under the internal process. So we have also here structure of organizations. Number one, formal bureaucracy. Sa formal bureaucracy, the official sanctioned lines of authority assigned by the owners of the organization. So, meron tayong official roles. Ibig sabihin, mayroong manager, mayroong supervisor. Okay, so under formal bureaucracy, the responsibilities of each person under the organization is clear. Okay, so parang meron every person, every role under the organization, meron kang sinusunod, parang job description. So under the informal groups, alliances that form outside the boundaries of the formal bureaucracy from the interaction and allegiance of people with common interests. So this one naman is formed through personal relationships, or barkadahan inside the workplace. Pero, may malaking impact pa rin sa okay. So, meron tayo ditong ano. For example, si leader, kapag sinabi mong formal, the leader is appointed. Okay. Appointed, pinili because he is a good leader. Okay, he is the chosen one. Okay, formal. Or, pwede rin dumaan sa votations. Okay. Same formal, it's through charisma. Okay. So, since, for example, he or she has a lot of friends, so siya yung piniling leader. Okay? Dahil siya ay friendly, marunong makisama. So, okay, that's charisma. Next is followers. Ang formal, recruitment incentives. Okay? Informal, personal attraction. So, kapag formal, ito yung for example, you will recruit and you will be rewarded once na meron kang na-recruit na another member. So, see, informal, it's just personal attraction. Like, if meron gustong sumama since the group looks like interesting, okay, that's personal attraction. So, how things are done under formal, it's organizationally driven. Okay, informal, social norms and norms. Performance and commitment expectations, formal job and task standards. And then informal, it's just issue focused. So, under formal, okay, meron kang sinusunod, okay, na standard. While in informal, we just focus kung ano yung kailangan gawin. Okay, walang masyadong, wala kang sinusundan. Ganun. You're just issue focused. Sanctions, okay, under formal, organizational rewards and punishment policies. Informal, it's just peer pressure. Next is formal organizational structure. Mm, There are four factors in assessing the structural design of an organization. Number one, design elements and factors. Number two, appropriate options, design, models, and strategies. Three, delegation of authorities. Four is formal organization charts. So, sa design elements and factors, meron tayong three paramount concerns in designing an organizational structure. So, number one, the task to be performed. So, it's the main objective of attention. Number two, people involved. Three is workplace. So, design strategies and models. We have bureaucratic models. So, here in bureaucratic, like, uh, it focuses entirely on the relationship between people and rely on the hierarchy's formal chain of command. There is also clear understanding of who is in charge and who is responsible for specific areas of work. So here sa bureaucratic model, meron tayong fixed hierarchy. Okay? Merong clear duties, and this is rules-based. Sa So there are five basic features of bureaucratic model. Number one, formally established set of official duties. Okay, merong job description. Okay, number two, hierarchy-based chain of command. Meron tayong sinusunod, okay, na hierarchy. Merong superior and merong number three, rules and regulations are consistently applied. Okay. Four, formalistic personality without the attachment of human emotions. Five, hiring and firing are based on qualifications and performance. Okay. So here in bureaucratic model, it's more like formal. Okay. So when you hire and when you fire a person, dapat it's objective. Okay, nagbe-based ka sa qualifications, sa performance, and not because you hate the person or makainis kasi siya, hindi siya marunong pakisama. Okay? So, here, in bureaucratic model, kaya ganun, because there are rules and there are regulations. And also, isa sa style ng bureaucratic is yung merong hierarchy, ay merong dapat superior na sinusunod ng mga people under it. So, kaya magkakaroon ng para magkaroon ng chain of command. Like, for example, inside the laboratory, there is a problem. Before ka mag-proceed sa chief, like, ang kakausapin mo na dapat are section heads. Okay, your seniors. Okay, para hindi magulo. Magulo. Next is situational models. So, sa situational model, it attempts to tailor the organizational structure to the specific job needs dictated by the work situation. So here, um, should be flexible depending on the task or scenario. Okay. Kung si bureaucratic model, meron siyang established set of official duties. Here in situational models, yung specific job duties niyo will depend on the work situation. Kaya it's situational models. The next is delegation. The temporary assignment of the authority of the structural plan and responsibility to perform a duty normally performed by a supervisor. So, delegation is temporary assignment. So, ibig sabihin nito ay temporarily pinapasa ang authority sa ibang tao. So, example, kapag leave ang supervisor, pwede niyang i-delegate ang role niya sa senior staff. Okay. Next is organizational chart. The formal written presentation of the structural plan of the organization. So, all the laboratory inside the hospital, it has organizational chart. Even here in our college, there is an organizational chart. So this one is the visual presentation ng structure ng organization. So sino ang For example, um, there is sa pinakataas your pathologist, and next is your chief medtech, and then the section clean chem head, the CM head, hematology head, and down to the medtechs, down to the laboratory. So that's an example of organization chart. So there are principles of organizing. Number one, authority. So formal and legitimate right of a manager to issue orders, make decisions, and allocate resources to achieve desired outcomes of the organization. So si authority, ito ay yung karapatan ng manager na magbigay ng utos. Okay, so sa line authority, the managers issue orders to their subordinates and are responsible for the result. So dito sa line authority, mayroong direct command. So si functional authority, for managers that have power only over a specific set of activities. So sa functional authority, mayroon lang mga specific tasks. Okay? So si line authority, may direct commands. Functional authority naman, meron siyang special tasks. Si staff authority naman, given to specialists in their areas of expertise. So, sa staff authority, the experts with advisory roles. So, if ulitin ko, line authority, mayroong direct command. Okay? Functional authority, mayroong special task. Si staff authority naman, mayroong expertise. Number two, responsibility and accountability. Responsibility, duty of the employee to perform the assigned tasks and activities. So, responsibility, syempre, going up, assigned work. So, every employee um, um, should do what is under his or her responsibility inside the organization. So next is accountability, reporting and justification of past outcomes to higher management by those people with authority. So accountability is reporting of outcomes, or if there is a problem inside the laboratory, um, you report or you justify and take accountability of any consequences that might be given to you. That is accountability. Number three, centralization and decentralization. When I say centralization, um, concentration of planning and decision making to the top of the organization. So, lahat dapat ng decision ay nasa top level. So, decentralization, delegation of planning and decision making to the lower branches of the organization. Okay. So here, lower levels may have the power to decide. So sa centralization, for example, inside the laboratory, ang magde-decide lang ay ang pathologist or ang chief medical technologist. While in decentralization, pwedeng mag-decide ang mga section heads, ang mga med techs, ang mga lab techs, ang mga lab aides. Okay. 4, formalization and staffing. So, sa formalization, it's written documentation provided for the direct control of the employees. So here, sa formalization, there should be written rules and procedures. In staffing naman, it's assigning individuals through respective positions identified in a management plan. So sa staffing, it's assigning different individuals or people to specific roles. So number 5 is unity of command and span of control. So sa unity of command, everyone must have only one boss. So per employee, okay, lahat ng employees dapat isa lang ang sinusunod nilang boss. So sa span of control, there is a definable limit to the number of people that the person can effectively lead. So since it's span of control, the number of people is limited, okay, para ma-manage siya effectively. So, for example, 1 is to 10, 1 is to 20. Okay, like for example, I am the leader and I can only effectively lead 10 people. So, dapat 10 people lang yung um, 10 people lang yung efforts ko. So, that is a span of control. Next is leadership. So when we say leadership, an organization is only as good as its people, and people are guided by leaders and managers. Leadership provides the direction of where an individual or organization is going. Management provides the road to get there. So, the leader should be visionary and thinks long term. While si manager naman ay executioner and focused sa step-by-step process. So there are different types of leaders. Supportive leader provides physical and personal resources so that an individual can accomplish his or her duties, offers flexibility, and encourages creative problem solving. So supportive should be encouraging and flexible. It's the, ability to um, provide like, personal resources from the word itself, support. Number 2, directive leader presents rules, orders, or other defined instructions to the individual. So, directive is the type of leader that is strict and clear with rules. It offers concise and detailed instructions on how to complete a task. So, third, delegating leader provides slow support and direction. So, si delegating leader has only minimal guidance. Okay? Kasi you are trusting your members. Provide only low support and direction. So, for coaching leader, ito yung kabaliktaran naman ni delegate leaders. Kasi it provides high support and direction. So, it's hands-on but supportive. So, note, a leader may adopt any behavior style periodically to suit any situation. general, one style usually dominates. What type of leader are you? Ask yourself. So, according to Elsevier naman, ito yung mga leadership styles. Number one is authoritative or autocratic. Leader informs employees what is to be done and how it is to be performed. And this is closed system. So, parang the leader says here na ako ang boss. Kasi um, you are authoritative and your members should strictly follow. That's why it's closed system. Kasi siya lang dapat ang susunod. Okay? So, medyo commanding ang authoritative or autocratic. Number two is participative or democratic. So, the Philippines is a democratic country where any one of us can or has the freedom to express oneself. So here's a participative or democratic. It includes one or more employees in the decision-making process, with the leader maintaining the final decision-making authority. It's open system. So in order to be participative and democratic, should be open system. So it means it's the leader is listening to the members. Okay? You are freely given the opportunity to express um, para magkaroon ng final decision right, from the leader. Okay, the leader will decide for that, but um, you can share your opinion okay, on the decision making process. Okay, so involve ang everyone. So si authoritative, like for example, yung bansa ano ba yun? North Korea. They are autocratic. Unlike here in the Philippines na, okay, now they are democratic. It's a free country. Next is delegative. Okay, I don't know how to pronounce this. License fair stuff. Fair stuff. Okay, leader here confers the decision-making ability to the employees, with the leader still responsible for the decisions made by employee free reign or life. So, sa democratic, there is a team involvement. But here, parang sinasabi ng leader here is bahala na ang team. Okay, parang okay, pinagkakatiwala mo ang team sa mga members. Sa mga members. Okay. And then, number four, combination. So, all three styles are used depending on the issues involved. And it's a indication of a leader. So when you are authoritative, you are participative, and you are delegative. Okay, you're the combination of the three, and you have flexibility. Lumalabas yung leadership styles mo depending on the issues. It's an indication that you are a good leader. Have your consensus. Manager tries to get at least partial agreement from all staff. Everyone has input, highest quality decisions, good acceptance, and conflict. So that is consensus. Ibig sabihin, lahat kayo, lahat ng members are we in merong agreement. So it's the meaning of consensus. It's like parang consent. Okay, there is a consent from everyone. So there is good acceptance and page 9. So, dito tayo sa communication. So when I say communication, it's the process of receiving and transmitting messages. Ongoing process of interpreting symbols, decoding speech and phrases, interpreting ideas and feeling, and encoding event information to formulate and appropriate messages. We always say that communication is the key, but there are different types of communication. But for me, communication is useless without comprehension. So let's go to the process of communication. So there is formal communication. It's the official communication messages generated by the business activities of the organization. So the communication is the ongoing process. Send, receive ng message, ng ideas, ng emotions, and so here's formal. Okay. Usually yung communication is through letters, pero, or through emails with proper, with proper, ano tawag dito? Properly curated yung message through email, through letters, because formal communication. And you don't use mga, ano pa tawag yung jargon sa atin. So, yan. So, dapat formal. Next is vertical communication. It's formal messages that are channeled through the hierarchical network of the organization. So, ito yung pag-usap naman through the boss to staff or staff to the boss, okay, or vice versa. So, it's vertical. It's direct, okay. Kakausapin ni boss ang staff or kakausapin ni staff ang boss. Okay, so, that's vertical communication. Next is horizontal communication. Communication activity that occurs during the normal conduct of business, including exchange of services, information, and work orders between departments, managers, and staff. So here, so horizontal, it's between departments or same level staff. So yung vertical, it's boss to staff or staff to boss. The horizontal, it's between departments or same level staff. So we have here means and methods of communication. Dynamic communication, it's live discourse in which all parties can simultaneously exchange ideas and the information and receive the spontaneous feedback. So when we say dynamic, it's real-time conversation. And for example, it's our face-to-face classes. So there is a live discourse. Sa canned communication, ito yung canned communication, this one, or asynchronous class. The messages are delivered in forms that prevent the sender and the recipient from responding to each other simultaneously. So example ng dynamic communication is our face-to-face class. And canned communication is this 1 hour asynchronous class. Kasi I only do pre-recorded lectures wherein we cannot have a real-time conversation. Next, okay, go to page. Communication formats, written messages. So obviously, it's messages such as memos, video programs that are prepared and transmitted by mechanisms other than the face-to-face encounter. Verbal messages, it's the actual delivery of messages using sounds, words, speech, language to interact with individuals and with groups. This one is what I do, verbal messages. So, non-verbal messages naman associated with signals, body language, facial expressions, voice, tone, context, connotation. So, here you use touch, you use body language, right, to convey interaction and listening. Meron din tayong tinatawag na paraverbal, which is messages transmitted through tone, through speech, and through pacing of the voice. Meron ding informative messages. It uses data, instructions, and knowledge to convey information to others. So, example, the written messages. Example, your excuse letter. Verbal messages, right? It's our interaction during our lecture. That's verbal messages. Non-verbal, for example, is yung, alam niyo yung sa mga news, tapos mayroong box na maliit dun sa gilid with their nagsisign language. Okay, that's an example of non-verbal. And then paraverbal. Here you use only tone, pitch. Okay, di ba kapag ang tone is like, is pasigaw, okay? Yung tone is, you will notice, di ba, if someone's mad kapag iba yung tone ng voice. And also the pacing of the voice. For example, merong mga yung voice nila is testing or for posting. It's paraverbal. Or for example, if gusto mong ano ba tawag? If gusto mong magpa-cute, ganyan, use mga cute na tones, di ba? Tapos nagiging high pitch yung voice. It's paraverbal. Then informative messages, for example, is weather updates or news. There are, kasi doon, there is data, there is instructions, and there is knowledge. Or this one, itong lecture natin is also an informative message. We also have 3 domains of learning. Okay, cognitive knowledge is based on recall, comprehension, application, analysis, synthesis, and evaluation. Okay. Psychomotor, its performance-based, includes coordination through thoroughness and efficiency. Affective, it's using data, instructions, and knowledge to convey information to others. So when you say cognitive, pwedeng pumasok dyan yung exams, wherein you can perform the recalls. You try to understand comprehend the questions, you analyze. And also in research, diba? When you do research, you synthesize. It's a psychomotor. Example niyan are your laboratory activities, which is performance-based. Or whether your moving exam, because it includes coordination. Then effective, um, it's using data, instructions, and knowledge. So it's example nito is me teaching you. I give instructions, I give you data, and I give you knowledge para makapag-turo ako effectively sa inyo. So that's the domains of learning. Next is the barriers to communication. Okay. Structural barriers. So barriers such as spatial constraints, geography, job duties. Spatial constraints, barriers such as, sorry about it. So, ibang structural. So, example niyan is yung layo ng location. That's why meron geography. Okay, then for example, yung mga long distance relationships or um, job duties, like kapag magkaibang shift, night shift, day shift, it could be an structural body. Next is problems on semantics. Okay. Semantics, branch of communication studies the denotation and connotation of words and messages. When you say denotation, exact dictionary meaning of a word or a phrase, connotation, context, and nonverbal messages associated with a phrase or a word or a phrase. Okay. So, when you say semantics, so there is one word with different ang denotation and connotation. Okay, meron siyang dalawang meaning. Okay, isa is yung meaning ng you can find in the dictionary, and yung connotation yun naman is how we interpret it with the semantics. Wait lang, so search ko ng example. Semantics. Semantics. For example, ng semantics is um, yung falling. Yung literal na meaning ng falling. For example, the leaves are falling. The leaves of a tree are descending. Pero when you say figuratively, he's falling for her, doesn't mean like hulog, like falling talaga. It means he is developing romantic feeling towards the person. There are different meaning of falling, falling leaf, everything, falling in love. Dalawa yung meaning ng falling sa atin. So, ang denotation niya, di ba, is when you say falling, it's descending. So, sa connotation naman natin, we say falling is like naiilaw. So, those are example of semantics. So, technical problems, volume, okay, signal, static sa audio, ganyan, or mahina yung signal. Like, for example, kapag online class, okay, there are always technical problems. Perception factors, how a message is viewed from the standpoint of the receiver. So, sometimes, kahit na yung way ng pag-express niya is okay naman, para sa kanya is okay naman. But for you, the receiver, feeling mo galit siya, or what, iba yung pagka-intindi mo sa message niya. So, that's perception factors. Credibility, worthiness of the person is perceived by the receiver. So, sometimes, di ba, kapag we know that it's from, from a trusted friend, credibility, or sometimes kapag alam mo naman na that person is, di ba, chismosa, ganyan, babawasan yung credibility ng person. Baka hindi naman totoo. Or for example, um, di ba, sabi nila si Kuya Kim, nagbabalik na siya about weather updates. Pero hindi naman siya, anong tawag doon? Anong tawag doon? Search mo. Hindi siya, the weather forecaster siya. Pero he is not like Mang Ban who works in, in pag-asa. Okay. So, parang for other people, yung credibility ni Kuya Kim is, it doesn't equate to Mang Ban's credibility. Example. And then, outcome problems, problems that depend on the receiver. So, si receiver, okay, di ba? Sometimes, or pag kunwari, mahina yung pagdinig, maingay sa place, may yung mga outcome problems ng receiver, hindi masyadong maintindihan. So, there could be a problem in a communication. So, a vital part of communication skill is the ability to be a good listener. Okay. Because communication is business. Okay? If you're not a good, if yung kausap mo is not a good listener, diba? It's okay kung ina-communicate mo yung ideas mo, ganyan. Pero hindi naman kinig pala yung listener. So, communication is, ano, is not effective. Okay? Management of change. Mm. It is an undisputed fact that change is inevitable. So, but change means to become different, usually in response to a stimulus requiring an action or adjustment. Okay, yeah. But sometimes naman, diba, change is for the better. Pwede rin kabaliktaran. Okay. So, um, para malabanan yung mga negative effects of change, we should develop resistance, which is the part of the natural flow of change process. So the reasons for resistance: number one, loss of personal control; two, fear of the unknown. Then apprehension about the real objectives or purpose of knowledge. And then management responsibility for change. So too little change results in a department that it is stagnant and ineffective. Too much change, too much unmanaged change leads to confusion and chaos. So kapag maliit lang yung change, wala masyadong improvement, nagiging stagnant or ineffective. Kasi hindi kayo nagde-develop. O hindi lang yung change. Pero pag too much naman, it leads to confusion and chaos. Like for example, inside the laboratory, di ba? Since our seniors or sanay sa manual, so kapag nag-turn into automation lahat ng process, it's going to be hard for them to catch up. It will produce confusion and chaos. Kasi yung nakasanayan nila is biglang change ng biglaan, like kasi lahat papalitan. Okay, mahihirapan um, yung management na makasabay. So, maritime change agent, the person who initiates the change effort. So, thinking about a change agent. So, the appliance system, which is the target of the change agent's intervention effort. The entity may need or desire change. So, for example, the laboratory that's your client system, the change agent is you. It can be you. It can be the person who initiates change or change. Sources of change. Number one, knowledge base. So, scope of management. Three, issues and problems. Four, environment. Five, increasing rate of change. Okay. Sources of conflicts and persistence. Managers are also responsible in allocating scarce resources among competing demands. So, number one, self-interest. So if people perceive that they have something to gain or use from changes in the system, whether real or imaginary, they can be expected to take advantage of the opportunity or try to protect themselves from harm. So it's self-interest. Example, for self-interest, change is gusto mong taasan kunwari yung pressure ng CBC test because pwede mong kuhanin yung excess and then yung excess na yun can be given to example of changes in the system. May self-interest siya kasi meron kang mag-gain from it. Okay, so maraming mga nag-take advantage ng opportunity to protect themselves. For example, if there is a conflict inside the laboratory, the other one is going to report it. Hindi nga isasama yung sa ang ipapahamak niya lang is the other employee. Okay, it's self-interest. Number two, assessment differences, disagreements over interpretation and judgment, limited information, or the lack of understanding of the situation lead to differences. Okay. So, sa assessment differences, since we're different people, diba, different person, sometimes we disagree sa mga opinions sa information. For example, if we lack understanding sa isang situation, kakaiba tayo ng assessment sa isang tao. Number three, loss of control. If fear can develop their perceived reduction of autonomy or a change to the person's comforts. Like, for example, to change laboratory into ETS instead of syringe yung ETS. So, di ba, like ako, for example, comfort zone ko is using syringe. And then, if mag-ETS, baka masyadong experience. So, it's gonna be hard for me to abruptly um, change into ETS instead of using syringe. So, can develop fear, okay, loss of control. Another source of conflict and resistance. We also have management of change process. One, diagnosing and analyzing the need for change. Two, designing a change strategy, implementing the change plan, follow-up cycle to reduce change. in China. Okay, and that ends our discussion for today. To have your attendance, you can just comment your name in the comment section together with your section. Okay, thank you for listening.